Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. As always, thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Match day, of course, big night at the Emirates a little bit later on this evening. Champions League rolls around once again, and it's two of the most informed teams, if not the two most informed teams in Europe, going head-to-head at the Emirates. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich, a team we know all about, of course. I've got some very bad memories of playing Bayern over the years. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Arsenal can get a little bit of revenge on Munich tonight. Not that it will count for that much because it is just a league phase game. Both teams in a very good position. Even a defeat wouldn't be the end of the world for either of these two teams. But when you're listening to what Vincent Kompany's been having to say, and certainly what Mikel Arteta and Jurgen Timber were having to say at their press conference yesterday, it's a game that both are taking very, very seriously and want to win. And if they do, then both whoever wins is going to be in a very, very strong position with just a couple of games left of the league phase. So we'll talk about that game in today's show, do the preview, or do my predicted 11, looks a little bit deeper at what Mikel Arteta has been saying about team news, injury news, whether he'll make changes, the difficulties of making changes, that sort of stuff. Lots of you have been getting in touch saying what you want to see from Mikel today, so share some of those as well. We've got the UEFA Youth League kicking off a little bit later on today. Could see a sort of historic moment in that. We'll wait and see if that happens or not, but we can talk about that. So lots to get stuck into. It was open trading yesterday. Obviously, we saw a lot of the injured players who were back, Martinelli and Madueke, who were on the bench at the weekend, involved in training. Again, Martin Odegaard involved in training. Of course, no Victor Gyökeres, no Kai Havertz. So Mikel did speak about them at the press conference yesterday and said that they're both due to have a scan this week to determine whether Arsenal will be able to start pushing them to be involved in games. Mikel did say this weekend. That kind of feels a little bit too early to me, but who knows? But that's what he had to say on those two. They will have scans this week. If those scans come back all clear, then it's time to step things up and hopefully get them back pushing to return to the side. So in terms of the actual sort of main team news, this is what he had to say. I did talk about it in the sort of press conference reaction show I put out last night. But if you haven't seen or heard what Mikel said about the team news on Martinelli and Madueke, he said they are in training and we're going to have a meeting now to decide on Martin Odegaard. He was very close for the previous game, so we are hopeful that he can be in the squad as well to play Bayern. That is on Gyökeres and Havertz. This is what he said. Really good, both of them. In the next few days, they're going to have a repeat scan to see how everything is and where we can push them for the weekend. So that was the latest on team news. He also spoke about Gabriel Jesus in that press conference where he confirmed that a behind closed doors friendly is going to be set up in the next few days for Jesus to take the next step in his recovery. If he can get through that, then he'll be in a very good position to start pushing his way towards the first team as well. So all sounds pretty positive from that regard. This was quite interesting. He was talking about the sort of challenge of bringing these players back who have been out for a long, long time. You sort of think Martin Odegaard is front and centre of that. Havertz is going to be as well when he comes back. He's not played since the start of the season. Madueke has been out for a long, long time as well. Not quite the same for Gyökeres and Martinelli because they haven't been out for too long, but some of the other ones, especially Martin Odegaard, have. So when he was asked about the sort of challenge of the injured players, how hard it is bringing them back in, he said, especially because they've been out for a long period of time, 6, 7, 8 weeks. That's quite a long time. But to be fair, when I see them training as well and how willing they are, all of them to play a part to start, ideally, in the camp, it's great. So they seem to be in a good place. We have to manage that because we have a very demanding week and opponents, but they will manage to bring it in, which is great to see. And the rest are great on how he keeps players calm who are really sort of pushing and eager to get back in the starting 11. He said, well, we have to look at the individuals, obviously, and make sure they are ready to start a game like this. And the second one as well is for how long they can play. We need to be very mindful about how many of these players we put on the pitch because most of them might not be available to finish 90 minutes. So we need to be conscious about the subs that we need to use and how we're going to use it, the windows that we have in order to be very efficient with our decision making throughout the game, and we'll plan in regards to that. I thought that was quite interesting when he's talking about that, because obviously you have the sort of windows that you can make the subs, and if you're going to start, and I don't think you will, but if you are going to start sort of 2-3 players who you know can only play 60 minutes, then that really has to be factored into your planning for thinking, okay, who have we got on the bench then? Who are we going to bring on for these players who we're going to have to bring off after 60 minutes? How's that going to impact the sort of windows that we can use as subs? So there's a lot of planning goes into it. I can't see many of them starting. Well, I can't see any of them starting. I have to say, I'm in an R in about Madueke, maybe, being on the left instead of Trossard, and Trossard getting a rest. I mean, it could be Martinelli as well, obviously. I was umming and ahhing about that when I was trying to put together my predicted 11, in thinking, what is Mikel going to do with this? But, and I'll get to it in a minute, I kind of feel like he's probably not going to start any of them. Odegaard again. I mean, he was very close to playing against Spurs, didn't do it, wasn't included in the squad. Would he come straight back into the starting 11 for this game? It feels doubtful to me. If there's going to be one, I'd probably say maybe Madueke, because he was so close to playing before the international break. So he's been fit for a while, that maybe he would have a chance. The fact that he came on ahead of Martinelli in the game at the weekend as well made me think maybe he's got a chance on the left-hand side, and that would give you the opportunity to rest Trossard ahead of the Chelsea game at the weekend. But lots have to be taken into occasion, as Mikel said in these quotes there. So I thought that was quite interesting stuff from him. There was embargoed section of the press conference that went out sort of last night. Not too much in it. If you haven't seen, he was asked about Harry Kane. He was asked if Arsenal fear Harry Kane. Kane's obviously got an unbelievable record against Arsenal over the years for Spurs. Scored for Bayern Munich last time at the Emirates as well in that 2-2 penalty, surprisingly. He was asked, do you fear him? He said, I wouldn't use that word. I just admire what he has done. He's remarkable. Big credit to him. We have to be prepared for what is coming, and then we focus on ourselves. He was asked about the strikers and whether when you get Havertz, Gyökeres and Jesus back, is that going to give Arsenal, that extra bit of a lift that's, going into the second half of the season, just going to make you even stronger? He said, absolutely. We haven't had that opportunity to have any of them together in the squad yet all season. So it's going to be great for Arsenal. He did then asked about Merino and the sort of job he's doing. He said, look, he's done, and he was asked, you still got the confidence in these big games that he can play at? He said, absolutely. He's done it in the past. He played the biggest part of last season in that position. We all take it for granted now, but what he's doing, it is exceptional. And I do think it's exceptional. Fair play to him. I'm desperate for the forwards to come back, of course, but you've got to give Mikel Merino so much credit for how he stood up and he's helped the team and the job that he's been doing. And I'm sure he'll do another good job tonight as well. So that's kind of the biggest sort of roundup from the embargoed section of the press conference last night. Right, we're going to move on to the predicted 11 now. Now, we've spoken at length in the last couple of days about what's Mikel going to do, how many changes he's going to make for this game. And I'll get to some of what you guys have had to say in a minute. So I was umming and ahhing over this. I don't see wholesale changes. I was thinking maybe 2, maybe 3, but in this predicted 11, I've only gone for one change. And that is Lewis Skelly coming in at left back and Calafiori getting a bit of a rest. This isn't what I would do. This is me trying to predict what Mikel Arteta would do. If it was me, I'd be starting Ben White at right back and I'd be starting Lewis Skelly at left back. I would definitely be changing the 2 fullbacks and giving them a rest. Timber 100% for me would not be starting this game. I would, if they're fit, I'd play either Madueke or Martinelli on the left-hand side as well. So I'd be resting them. I've seen people saying, Rice and Zubimendi need a rest. I'm not so sure. I think they've got to play in this game for me. I'd be playing them. So I think I'd probably have 3 changes was what I would do. And it would be the 2 fullbacks and I would change the left winger and give Trossard a bit of a rest as well. So, but what I think Mikel's going to do, I've gone with Raya in goal, obviously. Timber at right back, Saliba, Hincapié and Lewis Skelly. So I think that will be the one change. Lewis Skelly coming in for Calafiori. I know Calafiori trained yesterday, looked fine, but he was at injury doubt going into the Spurs game. He limped off against Spurs. It just feels like this is a good opportunity to play Lewis Skelly. Zubimendi and Rice as the midfield pairing. Then I've stuck with Saka, Eze, Trossard and Merino as the front 4. I just feel like he's probably going to do that. I mean, it'll be interesting when that team news does come out, when the 11 does come out, to see if he has surprised me. The amount of times I turn up to games thinking, he's going to make changes. He's got to make changes. And then the team news comes out and he hasn't. Just makes me, when I'm trying to predict what he's going to do, it makes me sort of lean towards this rather than 3 or 4 changes that I think most of us would probably like to see today. So once more then, Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Hincapié, Lewis Skelly back 4, Rice and Zubimendi in midfield, then Saka, Eze, Trossard and Merino up top. That is my predicted 11. That is what I think Mikel Arteta will do tonight. Okay, moving on to what some of you guys have been saying ahead of the game. Now, thank you very much, as always, for getting in touch and leaving your opinions and your views. The Red Mark, first of all, says, personally, I wouldn't make any changes to the team for the Bayern game. They are arguably the best team in Europe. Come into our house and I want to see us beat them. Would rather see Ben and Miles come in for the Chelsea game, as we've already had one enforced change in the defence. Come on, you Gunners. Interesting yesterday. I mean, look, Mikel would never do this, obviously, but Pep made 10 changes for Man City against Leverkusen at home at the Etihad, and City got comfortably beaten in that game, 2-0 by Leverkusen. Fair play, brilliant result for them, but Pep admitted after the game it was just too many changes. You know, Mikel would never do that if for a Champions League game. He's not going to rest 10 players. We've seen that before in dead rubbers. He won't even do that. So that did feel like too many changes. But sometimes it can't it? It can just upset the rhythm. And this is a big game for Arsenal. You know, Mikel said it as well. He called it a biggest test, a really big test in the build up to it. And I think it's a game he would love to win this game, to send out a bit of a message. Prashant said, "Hi Charles, love the show, and yours is probably the most authentic Arsenal podcast out there." Thank you very much for the kind words. In terms of the team for Munich, I think Arteta will stick to the same 11, except for Miles coming in for Calafiori and Martinelli and Odegaard coming on for the last 10 to 20 minutes to close out the win. Confident stuff there. Love to hear that. Sunshine the Horse Limited says, "I hope we see Ben White come in for Bayern, or at least start to come on for Timber in the last 15, 20 minutes of games. Timber has been immense, but I feel he's surely going to need a rest now and then to avoid burnout or injury." I agree 100% on that. And we got Ralph Sheggs there. It says, "I think Sunday's game is more important to me. If we draw this, it's fine by me. I would love to see some rotations in attack. Sunday is the big one." Yeah, Chelsea, what a win for Chelsea yesterday against Barcelona. I really do think Chelsea are a good team. I think they've got exceptional young players, which they should for the amount of money they've spent to bring these young players in. But they're growing each game, each week. I think they got a good midfield. They've got some real exciting young talent in attack. I mean, Esteval just looks, with every appearance you see from him, he just looks better and better and better. A hell of a talent. Sunday's going to be really, really tough. It really is. You know, I would have loved to have seen a morale sapping defeat for Chelsea yesterday, a really tiring game for them and a crushing defeat. You know, it really sort of sapped them mentally. But instead, it was an easy game for them against 10 men for 45 minutes. They won it brilliantly. It's given them all a lift. The atmosphere's a lift. The spirit's all lifted of the fans. And it's going to be a tough game on Sunday. Absolutely. No doubt about it. So if Arsenal can rest some players ahead of that game, then I think it would be a good thing, because I agree with Ralph that Sunday is a big one for me. Theo Williams says, "I'd like to see a few changes, but we all know that Mikel will view tonight, as another huge game. I'd like to see MLS involved and Norgard in midfield to rest Zubi. I'd like to see Hincapié stay in and see how he fares against Harry Kane. I don't expect wholesale changes, but certainly 2 to 3 changes. It'll be interesting to see what Chelsea do against Barca lineup-wise." Well, Chelsea went pretty strong for that game last night. I'm trying to think of, did they leave anyone out? I'm not sure. I mean, Caicedo came back in. Reece James started, went off in the second half. Cucurella started again, was brilliant against Jamal Cucurella, who I just think is such a good defender. He's horrible, would be so horrible to play against, but he's such a good defender, Cucurella. And so I mean, they pretty much started everyone last night. They didn't start João Pedro. They had Pedro Neto playing as kind of in the false 9 position. So maybe João Pedro will come back in for that. But other than that, they went as strong as they possibly could. Mason says, "My team would be Raya, White, Saliba, Hincapié, MLS, Zubimendi, Rice, Eza, Saka, Marino, and Trossard. I'd be happy for Madueke and Martinelli to start, but they probably need to build more match fitness first." And then we've got one from Finn at the bottom there. Says, "My rotation to make us as strong as possible for Bayern would be White and MLS in at fullback, then Martinelli and Madueke on the wings. Can't see White starting, though, after not even playing against Prague, and probably Arteta only changes one of the wide players. Either way, I'm confident for both games." Come on, you Gunners. Thank you, as always, for getting in touch and sharing your views. And so just before we go on the UEFA Youth League game, which kicks off a little bit later on this afternoon, Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. Of course, Arsenal have had a terrible run so far. They've lost all 4 of their games in the Youth League, so qualification is virtually looking non-existent at this point. But we could see Luis Munoz play, and if he does play, he'll be the youngest player to play for Arsenal in the Youth League. He's already the youngest player now called up to a squad for a Youth League game. Max Dowman was 14, I believe, when he made it. And Munoz, there's lots of excitement about. Again, another attacking midfielder, can play out wide or play central positions. Really, really talented young player, just 13 years old. Honestly, football is just getting younger and younger and younger. He's played pretty well for the under-16s this season. Has got some good reviews for them. Hasn't played for the under-18s yet, but he's in the squad to play potentially against Munich today in the UEFA Youth League. So that'll be one to watch out for. I think you can watch it live on Arsenal.com at 1 p.m. kickoff. So it'll be interesting to do that if you want to have a little watch and get yourself prepared for tonight's game. And that is it from me today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope I did all right. I've got blooming horrible sore throat, which is not ideal ahead of tonight's game because I will be heading up to the Emirates a little bit later on today. And I think shouting is going to be a bit of an issue. But I hope I did all right. I hope my voice is all right. I think it stood up pretty well. But yeah, I'll be back in the morning for the review show. You want to get involved in that show, as always, come back to this one after the game. Leave your views, leave your comments, leave your opinions on what you saw, who impressed you, who didn't impress you, and I'll pull some together and get them included in tomorrow's review show. Until then, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.